Welcome back once again to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I am, as always, Chat Show. How the fuck are you? Let me ask you something. Do you come to the west side of Los Angeles? If you do, please check out where we are right now, the West Side Comedy Theater. westsidecomedy.com. That's their website, right? Go to the website, check out some shows. Our buddy Dana Carvey's here a couple times a month.
I have a show here.
Yes, West Side Comedy.
Jamie is now writing on a sketch show. There are two different sketch groups that go off.
My team is Goldie.
Yes.
The team that is billed with us is Dollboy Jack, and we are 8 p.m. the fourth Wednesday of every month.
Yeah, and they just had their show.
We just had our third show, and I think it did very well.
Well, you should. You should finally relax and enjoy it.
Yes, I was. This was the first time I was actually relaxed, and it's odd because I actually had to be in a couple sketches.
You did. Little,
I got to portray Lena Dunham in the sketch.
Little Lena Dunham.
How did you feel about the full nudity?
I was pretty, I was wearing a crop top, was braless, and had my gut hanging out of some shorts that were not appropriately for me.
I believe the key word there was slouch.
Yeah, it was my posture.
Yeah, hipster posture, we learned, was a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, couldn't have been more obnoxious and yet hilarious. Want to thank Bryce Whistle and the aforementioned Sean Casey for these auspices here at the West Side Comedy Theater and the whole fellowship of owners here. Have you seen our 7th anniversary show, you sons of bitches? You don't want to miss it. I'm telling you, go to wherever you do.
I don't think they can see it. I think they can hear it.
You can't see it.
Right.
Excellent point, Sam Levine.
And also, just to needle them with that, fly yourselves to LA and come see our 8th anniversary show next year.
Yeah, and there's plenty of notice.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Here's 10 months heads up.
Yeah, what are you doing next approximately March, April?
Yeah.
Get out here.
Stop fucking around. We had the wildly normal Jeff Goldblum and top touring stand-up comedy in the world right now, Bill Burr, and Colin Hay, who was just spectacular. Check that out on the iTunes of the Earwolf and the YouTube. Sam Levine, how are you?
I am fantastic.
Well, your Cubs continue to reign.
They're just dominating all of baseball. It's about goddamn time.
Well, let's not even start on it's about time.
It is.
Because we're talking about almost, what is it, 100 and...
Well, it's 108 years since they last won the World Series. However, in the Cubs' defense, the last great season they had was 2008. They won the division handily.
Come on, people.
So it really hasn't been that long.
We're talking 8 years when they were in the show.
Yeah, but I'm very excited to see the rest of the season, and I'm so proud of them.
Health. To Jamie.
And Jason.
And Jason up in the crow's nest. Congratulations
Jason likes to
on
jump off the Steelers bandwagon and onto the Penguins one.
Excellent point. He does love the Steelers more, but the Penguins in this for the Stanley Cup.
Yes.
Jamie, Pittsburgh's own, who
This is the first time since 2008-9 season, correct, Jason?
Since the Stanley Cup?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 2008-9.
And of the last 5 they played in, they won.
I'm sorry?
And the last Stanley Cups that they
we have 3.
You have 3 Stanley Cups.
Yes.
92,
91,
93,
92,
right.
and then 2009.
And then don't forget the one that Van Damme helped them win at the end of that movie. Sudden Death.
Sudden Death.
Did he actually hit the puck with his head at one point?
No, he stops a goal while pretending to be a goalie to escape the bad guys.
But just with his nuts? Right?
Just with his kick. Just a swift ballet kick.
I'm sure we didn't realize, though, that when we were filming that movie, there's a scene where our mascot, Iceberg, the penguin, gets beat up, and now other teams constantly play that clip when we're so I don't think we thought that through.
I don't think the fans knew what was coming. Yeah. That was an evergreen.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you had the Jewish mascot, Iceberg?
Iceberg.
See what I did? I took the obvious joke and laid it down.
You don't think it's for Pittsburgh?
How many Jewish Yinzers are there in the world?
Squirrel Hill. You got to go to Squirrel Hill.
Got to go to Squirrel Hill. Write to us at kpcsfanmail@gmail.com. You heard me? kpcsfanmail@gmail.com. I'm not going to read any this week because I want to get right to our guests. Subscribe to us on YouTube, and it says here read fan mail. I say no, not going to do it. I have been a longtime fan. You know, we've celebrated the so-called character actor on this show, a time or 17, and as a card-carrying member, and I believe there's a baseball card There's got to be a Johnny C. baseball card. You've got to talk to the source. This guy, he'll take that much and turn it into a scene-stealing turn that it registers immediately. And I want to talk to him about those fans who insist they know the exact moment, because that's been one of my joys. Please welcome to this table, John C. McGinley. Now, Johnny C., do you know what I'm talking about? When the fan comes up and they possess, first of all, I love how they own a movie of yours that they love. I own that film. Well, actually, Warner Brothers owns it. You got yourself a copy, is what you did. But if you had a fan come up and tell you the exact moment in which you became a perennial in their life?
Well, I like when people come up and tell me, you know what's my favorite scene of yours? And I'm like,
technically.
Not a goddamn clue. Yeah. But go ahead. If it's positive, go ahead.
Yeah. My favorite scene of yours. Yeah. What's that movie I saw you in? I love the finger snapping in my face. Could never get enough of that.
Yeah. What's that film? What's that film I saw? What's that film? What's that film I saw you in?
Yeah,
Stop saying what's that film I saw you in.
Yes.
There's a few. What?
By the way, my answer is I wasn't with you when you saw it. How could I?
Oh no, you know what my answer is? Keep moving. Never stop.
Don't grow moss?
No, just keep moving.
Oh man.
See, you engage. I don't engage.
Yeah. Well, I do. I am constantly running for office, and I need that desperate approval. So I will stop as often as I can, but I'll also get to the point.
I keep moving.
Yeah.
I'm a New Yorker. I keep moving.
But you've also got
I walk and talk.
There's an intimidating.
You can walk with me if you want. Come on, you can walk with me.
Yeah.
What? What do you want? Set it off? What do you want? You have Scrubs? What do you want? Office Space? What do you want? Wall Street? What do you want? Platoon? What do you want? I gotta go. What do you want?
That doesn't seem like New York at all.
No, hardly.
When did you realize that? We'll get back on and then finish the baseball talk. That the Yankees were for you. What was it? A family outing? What was the thing?
Well, like you. I'm a sports fanatic.
Whatever your hometown is.
Yeah, and so growing up in New York and then New Jersey, around about '78, when Steinbrenner bought him from CBS and Michael Burke, and he started to make them relevant. Because when I was growing up, they were doormats.
Yeah.
So were the Giants. Jets weren't. Jets were good, but the Giants and the Yankees were just doormats. And then they started slowly to cherry pick some of that free agency from Catfish Hunter to the early guys. And then it started to get really fun to be a Yankee fan. Instead of just rooting for Horace Clarke and Ron Bloomberg, that was rough.
Yeah. So early 80s.
Mel Stottlemyre.
Oh boy.
I'm yawning.
Early 80s, you're starting to feel better?
Yeah, then it started getting good.
When my high school chum pitches a no-hitter on the 4th of July in 1983 by the name of Dave Righetti, these are good times.
Good as it gets.
Yeah.
Good as it gets.
Yeah.
My grandfather played for the New York Football Giants in 1927 and 1928.
Keep talking.
So he's in the Hall of Fame, which has just been moved from Kingston, Ohio, College Football Hall of Fame, from Kingston, Ohio, down to Atlanta, Georgia. And just for Irish mules, this is kind of funny, because grandfather's in the College Football Hall of Fame for being the original wedge buster. So this jackass would run down the field at 175 pounds, I doubt more than that, and just explode into other jackasses. And that's why he's in the College Football Hall of Fame. By the way, the
helmets were made of...
Yes. Just explode. And then he played for the Giants. He'd practice on Thursdays and Fridays. He was also the head coach at St. Joe's down in Philly, and he worked at the Beneficial Bank. And so he played there for 2 seasons. And so we're New York Giants fanatics.
Well, sure. And also I'm sensing a work ethic might have trickled down from this man.
Yeah, a scunch, yeah.
Into your father, who passes it along. And so, when does that become apparent that this is the McGinley way?
Just because nobody had allowances and stuff. All the other kids in the neighborhood, by the time we moved out of New York and out to Jersey, you got allowances and stuff, and my father didn't believe in it. So you're mowing lawns, you're shoveling driveways.
Milburn.
Yeah, Milburn, great.
Essex.
Yeah, I just went back there 2 weekends ago, got inducted into the Milburn High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Nice!
So that was pretty darn fun.
Absolutely.
I know it's goofy and all, but
No.
It was great. It was surprisingly great.
Yeah. That's a personal milestone that you don't see coming You don't anticipate it,
Correct.
right?
And so I want to downplay it, and
No.
but it was great, man.
You're tearing up.
And
for
so
sure.
I got to see some old buds, and so how did a work ethic get ingrained in us? It was kind of either do with or do without. And if you wanted stuff, you were going to go caddy, or you were going to cut the lawn, or you were going to shovel the driveway, or you were going to do something.
You, according to the research, caddied the U.S. Open. What the fuck?
I did. I had we didn't make the weekend, but I had Jadon Blake, and then when we didn't make the weekend at Baltusrol, which is one of the great tracks in America, right in Springfield, New Jersey. I was a flag guy by the first hole, which is a par 4, a long par 4, and Arnold Palmer was still relevant. And so they said, just go out by the first trap out there, about 280 yards out. If somebody hits in the trap, go stand in front of the trap. If it's in the rough, just go within 5 yards of the ball and put a flag down. I was like, great. So I'm on my way, and a guy from Golf Digest says, hey, are you the flag guy in the first? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, you want to do a ball survey? I'm like, yeah, what are you going to pay me? Because I was getting $50 for the day for being the flag guy. And he goes, well, I don't know, I'll give you $100. I'm like, done. So he gives me this little index card and a pencil, and if guys hit a ball left, I'm over there. And so guys are largely hitting it right down the middle.
Sure.
And then Arnold Palmer comes over my way, and he's walking towards me. He hit a fried egg right into the trap at around 285. And I'm standing in front of the trap, and here comes Arnold Palmer, and it's Sans Army because they're on the ropes on the other side of the fairway. So it's just me and that great old mustache caddy he had. And I go, excuse me, Mr. Palmer. And this is the first hole, and he hits a fried egg. And I go, what ball are you playing? And he just looked at me without saying, you piece of shit. He just goes, a Palmer. Wow! I didn't ask another golfer the rest of the day. I filled the thing out the way I took the SATs. I was just like, oh yeah, whatever. Yeah. Here, yeah. And the guy goes, pretty accurate. I'm like, oh on my son, that thing's accurate. Here's your hundo. I was like, great, good doing business with you. So don't believe the surveys you see in Golf Digest.
I'm playing a Palmer. And not dismissive. All he could do not to wrap a club around your face. Into the trap on the first drive. Mommy. And there's Knucklehead with a question. Pardon me, sir. He was more than relevant, I have a feeling.
Man.
With his own name on the ball. Tell me about the sweltering heat of the Millburn summer. What's happening there as a kid? I'm guessing sports up the wazoo.
Yeah, nonstop.
Yeah.
So my mother was
Get out and run around.
My mother was she's still alive. She was a second grade school teacher forever. And so if she ever got home at, let's see, you get out at 3:10, and then she got to correct papers and stuff. So she'd get home around 4. God forbid she ever got home and you were in the house.
What happens?
You just kicked out and probably not get a full serving of dinner, which is all anybody lived for.
Because you weren't out working or playing?
Oh, you should be out doing something.
What the fuck's the matter with you?
Get your ass out of this house now.
And
You would never be caught indoors anyway.
Right.
You just wouldn't.
No. Yeah, what are you doing?
My mother did the most genius thing. There was a Lazy Susan. Do you know what a Lazy Susan is? A thing in the middle?
Sure. I learned more about them at a Chinese restaurant than I did in my own house.
Yes, and so we had a house, we had a table about, I don't know, twice the circumference of this, and there was a Lazy Susan in the middle. And we were the house where everybody in the neighborhoods came over to eat.
Great.
And so you were my brother, you brought Steve, Mark brought Tommy. And so there's 5 McGinleys, and there would always be 3 or 4 friends.
Sure.
And this is back when stockbrokers made zero money. Everything was just betting on the future. You'd be paid in equity that could be cashed out if and when down the line.
Right.
So we always grew up thinking we were broke. We
Sure.
weren't. Dad was doing a great job, but we always grew up. So for 9 people, there was, let's make up 11 breasts of chicken in the kitchen. So you'd go in the kitchen, serve yourself, come sit, and you were allowed to, and my mother would bring in the extra 2 now and put them on the Lazy Susan. You were allowed to touch that Lazy Susan after you did 2 things. You had to have the enamel showing on your plate. It had to be so clean, and you had to tell a story.
Really?
Yes.
Holy crap, that's great.
And it didn't matter if you were filled with testosterone, and fuck it if you were going to share with anybody at that table, and you're 14 and you're just fed up with every motherfucker here, and you're just not talking, and you're like, fine, no seconds, don't touch the Lady Susan.
And this was laid down by the old man or mom?
No, my dad wasn't around, by mom.
Right.
You had, and it didn't matter if you were, 7 and you're going like, well, I made it to school today, I didn't step on a crack, so I didn't break mommy's back. Chicken.
Whatever the story was.
It didn't matter.
Didn't matter.
You had to contribute.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And so we do that at our house now. We ask everybody if they had thorns or roses today. We ask Billy and Max and Kate, what were your thorns, what were your roses today?
Right. That's pretty great.
It's great.
And that's a regular thing, the family dines together in your house?
Absolutely. It's my favorite thing.
And wow, that's pretty great.
It's why I originally wanted to do Scrubs, because as Max was facing his challenges early on, and as they abated, it got easier. But I wanted to be here, and
Right.
so that was the biggest gift that Scrubs was to me. To be an employed actor in Los Angeles, as you know, is frickin' well hard.
It's nearly impossible. And a
nearly impossible.
9-year run, going through the research, being reminded of that. Because my recollection of Scrubs was, I don't think, and you'll certainly correct me, that it was ever a top 5 show, top 10 show. It was a rock solid top 20 show, right? But rock solid in the top 20. Still, if you don't, at some point the bean counters are, how is this thing still on? Make room for the new stuff. You guys must have been up against it a few times.
Billy Lawrence would know that. I just know that young kids watched it, and to get young females and males to watch something on TV means you can stay on.
That's right. They went to the demos.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the only reason we stayed on.
Because
The show was good and all, but that doesn't really matter. Plenty of good shows get, like all in the. What Ed Asner told me that his show got whacked when like 24 million people a week were watching it, and it just got the one after Mary Tyler Moore where it's just him. Oh, Lou.
Yes.
Got whacked when it was.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about a regular gig in Los Angeles, and it doesn't exist. It's like winning the lottery in terms of the odds against you. I want to, we're going to jump around. I want to get, first of all, are you familiar with the way you are described? And I know the answer is no, I'm not. Specifically on Fandango.
I am not.
Well, I knew you wouldn't be, and I thought I would
Is it embarrassing?
share this. I'm going to say no, but I feel it's something you should know. The intense, unblinking actor specializes in sarcasm, cynicism, and a used car dealer's unctuous insincerity.
What does the word unctuous mean?
Meaning he can play either wacky or sinister in both comedies or dramas. I like the final remark because it says you can do anything.
Yeah, I'll take that. What does unctuous mean?
Let's go to a survey. I think unctuous.
I have no idea what unctuous means.
Yeah.
Did you Wikipedia it?
Brian, want to weigh in on unctuous? First day.
I don't even know how you would spell it. Spell it.
Inverse of earnest.
That's correct. That is correct.
Brian.
Brian
Just
laying
hit a
down.
tape measure shot. Holy cow.
Brian bringing it home day one.
Wow.
The inverse of sincerity. Yeah. Well, it's certainly in support because it's unctuous insincerity. So here's the deal. I want to talk about where you found this rhythm, because I think that a character actor is in a great position to make everything stronger, make everyone feel like they're being supported with a can-do, but also we have those opportunities to surprise and without making any effort to steal a scene, and some do make effort, and I don't even hold umbrage. The way that we ultimately have an opportunity to bring our own rhythm to it allows for those moments and those beats. And I'm very curious if they're not I'm looking for an epiphany, but a moment along the way in the New York theater where you found a certain rhythm that then became, for fans of yours, the sort of Johnny C. rhythm.
I got to understudy John Turturro in Danny and the Deep Blue Sea, which is a play written by John Shanley, who would go on to win an Oscar from Moonstruck.
Right.
And it was all the rage. It was in a theater downtown on Bleecker Street, Circle in the Square, and it was not dissimilar to the room we're in now. Tiny house. And John and an actress named June Stein. It was just a two-hander, and so I was the assistant stage manager, and so I would make up John's hands because he had to have prosthetics on him because he has to punch the wall, the character Danny does. And so I'd make up the actors, and then I didn't call the show, but I did go help in the house. And I also had the keys to the theater. And I lived in a funeral parlor about a block away. I lived in the Nucciaroni Funeral Parlor, where Fiorello LaGuardia was born. I lived 5 stories up in a railroad flat. First 2 stories were dead people. 3 and 4 where Pete and Janie DeLuca lived. And
Sure.
then I lived up on 5 with
You're
a
what
roommate.
age?
I don't know, 24.
Okay.
And so right out of school, I got to understudy John. And John's the Lou Gehrig of actors. He made it clear to me that he thought it was bad luck to not do a show unless you couldn't.
Right.
And so he was a horse. And I mean that as a compliment.
Yeah.
And then finally he went to go do Desperately Seeking Susan, which was all the rage in Manhattan. Everybody wanted to be in it. I didn't. I just went to John to go do it.
So that you could.
Yes. And so he went. And so that was about 6 months into the run. And every day, because I had the keys to the theater, I would walk over from the funeral parlor, and on the stage, I would walk both their lines. I'd do the play 5 or 6 times a day. I'd do June's lines and Danny's. Roberta's the character. I'd do Roberta's and Danny's lines maybe 5 or 6 times a day. I'd do the whole play out of terror.
Okay.
I was so scared.
This might happen someday.
I wanted it to happen, but I
Sure.
was scared to death. And so it felt like all the tools that I'd accumulated from the theater program at NYU, which was great, the grad theater program, which is a conservatory.
Yeah.
And there's a kick-out rate. There's at that time there was a mandatory kick-out rate of 15 of you. They took like 45, and it turns out it should have kicked out more because only 3 of us work.
Wow.
And so you should have kicked out 20.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that out of arrogance. I just mean it's hard to make a living as an actor. And so I would walk the play.
Had someone ever pointed out to you that that was something you could do, or one day you said, I'm going to go do this?
As I think I shared with you at one point, I really just wanted to be a storyteller.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter.
But to go down and walk the play multiple times on your own.
That was when terror was introduced and sprinkled into the equation.
Yeah.
I'd watch John every night, and he was fucking magnificent.
Right.
And I wanted to.
Be ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was fucking well going to be ready.
And you were, when the day came, to not only be ready, but to have your own spin on it that was completely and utterly your choosing.
Absolutely.
Having nothing to do with what he'd been doing.
I can't play John, and John can't play me. Those are 2 different things.
Right.
John's very different.
Yeah.
And my Danny was very different than his. And I gotta chill. It just, it was one of the great weekends of my life. I got to, when you're doing an off-Broadway play, you do 2 Friday night, you do a 7 and a 9, you do 2 Saturday night, and you do 1 Sunday. And then 3 the rest of the week. So it's still 8 a week, but your weekend is really, really packed. You do 2 Friday, 2 Saturday, 1 Sunday. And I got in the cut, man.
Yeah, you did.
I got in the cut.
And then the most ridiculous thing happens.
Yeah.
The single most ridiculous thing.
No question.
There you are being prepared to fill that role with your own version. So getting to the question of finding the Johnny C. rhythm.
That's where I found it.
That's where you found it.
Yes.
That's when it happened.
That
When you
kind of-
finally took the stage.
Just the psychotic preparation
Right.
has now the trickle down from that to everything I do, whether it's getting ready to do this TV show or Scrubs or Platoon. It's just all become this kind of really manic, it may be dysfunctional, getting ready part.
Yeah.
And it's all based on words. The one or two times where I tried to do kind of the De Niro thing, where I lost 60 pounds, I had dread sewn into my scalp, it was a disaster.
Because?
The film sucked. And it
So the
wasn't worth
disaster
it.
was, why did I kill myself for
Yeah.
that?
Malkovich, I see Johnny Cusack introduced me to Malkovich, and Malkovich, I told him I had dreads and I lost 60 pounds. He goes, "Get a fucking wig! Are you fucking daft? Are you daft?" I'm like, "Oh, great, thanks, John. That's a stamp of validation." Fucking mule.
Now I can enter the theater. Yeah, the preparation for that set up a lifelong pursuit of preparation. And do you think it continues to be so that I am as ready as I can on the day, but also battling the fear of it not going?
It's not
well?
based on fear anymore.
Good.
It's based on, now it's become this really, when the words are good,
Yes.
and it's not an exercising scene whether John or Kevin can pull a rabbit out of the hat every day on action.
Yeah.
Because the script is so inadequate.
Boy, those are fun, aren't they?
It's
That's
exhausting.
when we're working.
Yes.
The rest of the time is.
The rest of the time, when it's this really great Friday New York Times crossword,
Yeah.
that really engages the shit out of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Then you
that's
feel like
good.
you're cheating sometimes.
Then it's
frankly.
great. Then it's great.
Yeah.
Then call action and get the fuck out of my eye line. We're going to do something here.
Oh man, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely fucking loving it. I want to talk about. Jason Reitman has been on this show and he's talked at length about how J.K. Simmons is his lucky charm and he can't work without him. Clearly, you and Oliver Stone have a very, very special relationship. For a filmmaker to keep calling, it's astonishing. I'm not sure people are aware that most filmmakers, when they try to do something different, want to purposely not use the same people, regardless of how great they were and how hard they fought for them. As leaders, they want a new They want a new battle and they want a new regiment. So to keep being called in by a master like that, holy crap! It might be. I don't know that I can point to another version of that. Quite frankly,
Preston Sturges.
yeah, and certainly Scorsese with De Niro, and he's got a small. Then he worked with Leo for 4 or 5 times. You do get into a certain
those are
rhythm,
leads.
but those are leads.
It's different when you're 6, 7, and 8 in a call sheet
Right.
and you get invited back.
Although when John Spencer can't make the call, and you step into number 4.
That was pretty good.
Let's talk a little bit about that experience, please, because I'm not sure people understand how these things happen.
It segues back to Danny and the Deep Blue Sea, the play that I understudied John Turturro in.
Right.
Somebody from Oliver Stone's casting arm of the production of Platoon came to see John, and he was doing Desperately Seeking Susan. So they saw me, and they said, "You want to come up and audition for third guy on the right in Platoon?" And I did. And I auditioned for Tom Berenger's Radio Man, a role that Ivan Kane would eventually play. And I got it. And then the plug was pulled. So that was 1984.
Financing issues, what have
Yes,
you. Yeah.
the plug was pulled for 2 years. And so cut to 1986, and I'm understudying Laertes, and I'm playing 5 guys in Kevin Kline's Hamlet over at the Public, which was a big deal. A guy from the Guthrie came in to direct it, a German director named Live Chule, and so that was a big deal. And understudying Laertes, the kicker there is you have to be in all the combat because they have the great fight at the end. And so we were with B.H. Barry, who was the great swordsman in New York. And so we're a week into the fight. And Oliver Stone calls, he goes, "McGinley, do you want to play the fucking lead? You want to play fucking lead in my movie?" I'm like, "Oliver, I'm over at the Public. And as you know,
Joe motherfucking Pap.
yeah, no actor in New York would burn that bridge for anything.
Anything.
To stay in that fraternity
Right.
and / sorority, it's just as good as it gets.
You can't
when
get in.
Joe was alive. You
First
can't
of all,
get
you
in.
can't get in.
Because Rosemary Tischler had she was the casting person, and she had the keys to the kingdom, and I had been allowed to come in. I had been in a play with Chris Cooper earlier called The Ballad of Soapy Smith, a drama about the Klondike, and it was great, and Jimmy Smits and all these great actors, and John Spencer, and all these great actors. And so I was in. Now they invited me back in to play 7 roles in Hamlet, and I'm like, I'll do whatever you want me to do, and understudy Laertes. And so
How great is Kevin Kline, by the way, in that show?
To God.
Right?
Well, Oliver goes, okay, and so I'm like, oh, he goes, well, tell Joe, it's my movie, and we did readings there, and he fucking knows, and don't fuck me. I'm like, I don't even know you. I don't even know you. And so I go in to see Mr. Papp, and it was tantamount to going in to see the Wizard in The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And so Rosemary sets up the appointment, and I go in. And he was he had a burner, and he was this guy, and he was just like, Mac, take a seat. Mac? Yeah. And like, he knows my last name. I'm coming. And he goes, what is it? And I go, well, Oliver Stone has invited me to play like one of the leads in a movie in the Philippines. And he goes, go. We'll do Hamlet again when you get back. But go and tell Ollie I said hi.
Oh, that's why I do this show. That exact moment shared. Holy shit.
And the only reason Oliver offered me Sergeant O'Neill, the 4th lead, was because John Spencer, who was Sergeant O'Neill, had gotten an Emily Mann play about Harvey Milk and Dan White,
right,
which everybody wanted to do. It was a big Broadway play, which Sean would go on to win an Academy Award for. And so I have this great meeting with Mr. Papp. I go back to the funeral parlor, and a revolution starts in the Philippines.
After you took the gig?
Yeah. After I removed myself
you had
from
to
Hamlet.
leave the Hamlet.
And so there was a woman named Ferdinand Marcos and his wife Imelda were in a free election, and they lost. And he decided, I'm not leaving. This is great here.
Where am I going?
I'm not going anywhere.
I don't need to win shit.
And so he stays, and
Is
there's
it
a
Reagan
revolution.
that gives him?
Yes, he gives him asylum in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And that's when her shoes become the fodder of late night jokes.
Sure.
And so I'm sitting in the funeral parlor, and I meet Defoe down in Soho, and he goes, we're just a bunch of theater fags waiting for a revolution to finish. And I'm like, well, Willem, that's great, but I was about to be in Hamlet, and you're walking around with your dick out down in Soho, and I was in it, and now Hamlet opens, and the guy Frank Rich says it's the most important Hamlet in these shores, and I'm like, God damn it! It is not.
And by the way, 7 months was the wait.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
To go to the Philippines.
And I'm sitting on the sidelines. And the clock's ticking, and people are dying in the Philippines, and I'm like, well, you get ba. And so
we've got a movie to do, people.
And sure shit, the thing, they get it right over there, and Marcos leaves, and Cory Aquino was the woman in the yellow dress, and this was her thing was this, her peace sign was this, and so she gets in, and that's great. And so finally we're ready to go, and Moonstruck, which was when Cher goes to work, the one time we see her go to work, she works in a funeral parlor. She comes to the Nutrioni funeral parlor. So my bitch ass is coming down the stairs, and the stairs are this thin, and I'm going to the Philippines to do a low-budget independent piece of shit, and I could have been in a hit play, but no, you gotta go do this shit. And so I'm walking out, and at the height of her power and her beauty, in walks motherfucking Cher. And I'm like, okay, I know Hamlet. Fucking Cher, who I could print in a second if I got her upstairs. And I'm like, Cher, fucking Cher. And I'm going to Kennedy.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay,
They're going to
great.
shoot in my backyard?
Great, this is great. And
I'm missing everything is what you're thinking.
I'm the biggest loser on the planet.
Yeah.
So we get to the Philippines, and there's a coup threatened every Thursday.
Sure.
And that's great. And so he shot it pretty much in sequence. So as you died, you left character, and so which is unheard of. And so
absolutely unheard of.
Unheard of. And
so you go from like 30 down to
about 5 of us. And so I'm there, and this is great. The coup's coming, and I'm not dying. I'm here, and so we finish that, and we get back, and then the cherry on the goddamn cupcake is we get back, and Top Gun's a hit. And I'm like, right, well, we're just fucked in the ass because we just did a love story about brothers dying in arms, and these cocksuckers are taking off. You know, this is just a Reagan this is the Reagan motherfucker. And I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah.
This is great.
Now,
My life
this is
is
your-
shit.
this
Scale
is-
plus 10. Great. Great, John.
Coup
Boy,
every Thursday.
what a jackass.
Now, this is your first experience with Oliver,
Yeah.
right? And when you get into the jungle in the world you just painted for us, the daily work. First of all, how long is boot camp? Where you're not allowed
About 2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks. Don't talk to each other.
No, you had to call each other by each other's names. So I was Sergeant O'Neill, and Willem was, Elias, and he's like,
Talk to each other character names.
Johnny C.
Yeah.
Can you believe this yet?
Right. 2.5 weeks of fuck you, eat more mud.
Right. And Willem drank water from, we're downstream. Apparently an oxen had died upstream. So he gets medevaced out. He has to get his stomach pumped because the dead oxen had polluted the water.
Sure.
So Willem drank that. Tom Berenger dropped a knife in his foot. I remember one night, so there was 3 squads of 8 in a platoon. And so I had my own squad, Willem had one, and Tom had one. And each one gets a ringer, or a Marine who is strategic and ready around the clock. And so they were our babysitters, but they were also jackasses. And
You're talking about the real deal.
Yeah, because everyone needed a babysitter. Just because, you got a bunch of downtown theater fags. And so one night, you're hour on, hour off, where you're out in this listening post. And so you dig a hole, and you put a berm in front of it, and we were at the Philippine Jungle Constabulary's school in these triple canopy jungles. And so we're out and doing these listening exercises where you sleep for an hour while I watch, and then I wake you up and I sleep for an hour. And so this jackass, what was his name? I can't remember his name. Jackass number 1. And so I'm asleep, and I sleep with my mouth open. And he puts 2 copulating cockroaches on my mouth, and they crawled into my mouth, and I spit them out. And then I just started to beat the shit out of him. And of course, then I got in trouble for making all this noise. And Dale Dye, who was the guy, and he's
the guy.
he's the greatest guy on the planet. And he goes, Sergeant O'Neill! And I'm like, Dale, stop. This motherfucker put copulating cockroaches in my motherfucking mouth. Stop.
He needs to be punished.
And it was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. And then we got lost. Our big reward was we were supposed to take an azimuth and a map and get from point A to point B without any babysitters. And we got lost. Mark Moses got us lost. And so we spent a day lost, and then we were smart enough.
Full day lost.
Yeah, and it's getting dark, and it's scary. And so we know one thing: we've got to get up to that hill over there. You're going to be safer up top. So we start climbing this hill, and we get up on the top of this mountain or this hill, and it's a pineapple orchard. And so Kevin Dillon and Quinn, who rest in peace, young Anthony Quinn's son, they could climb. And so they climbed up and they hacked off all these pineapples. And we ate so many pineapples that we got these sores in our mouths and our tongue. And now we could speak for the whole goddamn night. We were fucking hungry.
A lot of acid.
Oh, for fuck's
Not to
sake.
mention the thorns, yes.
God save me. And so, that was boot camp. It was a complete disaster. But in the best possible way, it was a disaster.
And then the actual doing of it, when the cameras are rolling, and you're getting to know
It's like
all
falling
of
out of bed because of the 2.5 weeks.
Right.
Because everybody was a long way from home. We were in the jungle. A couple people died during it. One got bit by a 5-step snake.
Yeah.
And so a 5-step snake is a bamboo viper. And so a bamboo viper hangs from a bamboo tree, and then it disengages from the tree, and it falls on its prey. And so the heart, the poison that it bites its prey with goes to the heart and arrests the heart. And that's how it kills its prey. Well, some poor kid, a snake clearer, had the top of a tin garbage can and a spoon, and they're 12 abreast, and they move across an area we're going to shoot in.
Oh, God.
And they bang the can, and the sonic sound, I guess, is so abrasive to the snakes, they get the hell out of Dodge. And so this one snake didn't get the memo, and it dropped on this poor kid's Achilles, and it bit him right in the Achilles as he was eloping, and the kid passed. And so another guy died clearing the tunnel. That it rained a lot, and he was clearing the tunnel for the scenes where Willem's going through the, and he passed. It collapsed, and so. And then a bunch of guys got these, what do you call it, centipedes under their flak jackets. And centipedes over there aren't cute little fairy things. They're like wasps. They sting. And so these guys had these centipede trails of stings underneath their flak jackets. And so Oliver used to call everybody to the set. And there wasn't really a shot list because you had to be agile enough to go with what the day came your way as a director. You know, you on your movie, I'm sure you had a really meticulous shot list because there was a finite number of things you had the money for, and the same with this, and no centipedes. And so finally, Forrest Whitaker and Johnny Depp and I went up to Oliver, and it was about 2 hours each way to the set in this bus. And so we asked him if we weren't in scenes that day, could we possibly not be called? Which is, of course, that's the regular thing on any set. But
you don't have to take a 2-hour bus ride to get that information usually.
Right. And so Oliver said, yeah, go ahead. I'm starting to become clear on what the fuck I need, and it's not you. And so I'm like, great. And so we're sitting at the hotel when days were not called, and about a week into it, Forrest goes, I can't do a good Forrest imitation, but Forrest goes, yo, Johnny C. I'm like, yeah, Forrest. He goes, you know, if we're at the hotel, we're not in the movie. And I was like, I guess you're right. So we started getting back on the bus.
Yeah, you did.
And even if you weren't in the shot, we started, you know, if the shot was me and you at this table, this 2-shot, and about a half a mile away, way in the background on the top of the hill, there was a couple of guys walking around. It was just as a blur in the frame. We called that power background. And so we started doing power background. And guys were competing for power background. Even though you were just this amorphous shape way in the back of the frame.
Just to be in the goddamn movie?
Just get in the frame.
Yeah.
And so guys started kind of showing back up to the bus every morning after having about a week off.
And how long did this go on?
I don't know, about 3 months.
Right. And no money?
No, scale plus
anything.
Scale plus 10. I remember Johnny was dating, Johnny Depp was dating some smoke show back in the States. And I guess it was going south, and he spent every dime he had on long distance calls. So he got back here and he was broke. Most of us were.
Yeah.
And so you get what, $1,300 plus your agents get $130. And so that's what you got.
But there's no money to shoot anything either.
No, and the extras got paid fish heads and rice.
Same here.
By the way.
Same for television work.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
You must. It must just pop spring right back because I can't.
Yeah,
imagine.
that one imprinted pretty. I don't remember all the flicks. That sounded arrogant. I don't remember different films we've done over the years.
Yeah.
But I remember Platoon really clearly.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit.
I remember it very clearly.
So coming back from that and trying to fit back into society, I imagine not too dissimilar.
Well, I came back and they hadn't killed me off on Another World, so I went right back out to Brooklyn and started doing another...
Johnny Dangerous.
Yeah, I just started doing Another World.
Yeah.
And the greatest thing about Another World was that it was right in the Hasidic section of Brooklyn, right by the 2 huge sound stages out there. And the funniest thing with daytime was, and it felt so good, you get $714 as a player to come.
Way more than what you just made in the jungle.
Absolutely, a day.
Yeah.
And so in the morning, they'd send a car to the funeral parlor, a car with a Teamster to pick you up. And you'd drive out to the sound stages in Brooklyn, and then when you were wrapped, you were given a token to get home, which I always thought was genius. We'll send a car when we need you, but otherwise here's a $1.25 token, and all the best.
We'll make damn sure you're here to work, but when you're done, good luck to you.
And that's when it became clear on it's 4 cameras now, but it was 3 cameras back there. It was a single, and a master. That if you didn't know your lines, they'd cut to the person listening.
Which is a great incentive to know your fucking lines.
You're goddamn right.
You want to be on camera, don't you?
And so now I do this horribly subversive thing, or I did on Scrubs a lot. When jackasses would show up, guest stars would show up, and they wouldn't know their lines. And actors are given something called sides which are miniatures, and they bring them to the set and they look at them till the last second. And I used to tell people, listen, on your coverage, just put the things right in frame if you don't know your lines, because they're just going to be on me listening anyway. It's going to be infinitely more interesting. And you're like, what? I'm like, because I'm going to make these faces. I'm going to go like, and so when you don't know your lines, it doesn't matter. You're going to be on me.
Yeah.
Actors start to learn their lines.
Yeah.
It's a hot button for me when actors don't know the lines.
Yeah.
It makes me feel.
It's a little dismissive to everyone else.
Yeah, it upsets me.
Yeah.
It shouldn't. It just does.
Well,
I should be
you're the
much
guy
more
who
mature
walked
at 57.
But you're the guy who walked both parts in the theater by himself.
I guess so.
So someone knew their lines.
Yeah, that's a theater thing.
It doesn't have to be. It's not
No,
mutually.
it doesn't. Oh no, it doesn't
It
have to be.
starts
But I'm
there.
saying it starts there because
Yeah.
in theater,
Yeah,
the
you
word
better
is,
know
is
your
everything.
lines.
Yeah. If you're up there in a rehearsal and we're 4 weeks in and you're not off book, kill yourself.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Very dramatic. Kill yourself. Very dramatic.
Jamie, a Wall Street question?
I like at the end of the movie when Wall Street gets arrested. It's a thing on The Simpsons where they call the characters by the movie title and it's not there.
Yes.
Like, oh, this is when Die Hard jumps out the window.
That's great.
Homer writes a letter to Bruce Willis and it says, "Dear Die Hard, P.S. Do you know Mad Max?"
That writing room, I bet you had to wear Kevlar in that writing room.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, ask Dana Gould.
I know.
Yeah.
Because unless it was good, you probably got hammered.
Yeah.
Those writing rooms are brutal.
Yeah, as they should be. How else are you going to get greatness out of there? I've talked on this show before, probably at length, possibly ad nauseum, about how inspiring the work ethic of one Tom Cruise was when I worked with him. What was your experience like on Born on the 4th of July?
That was a makeup because I was doing Fat Man and Little Boy, about the making of the atomic bombs down in
Love that.
Durango.
Paul Newman, yeah.
And with Paul and Johnny and all these
John.
great actors.
Yeah.
And Oliver calls me in the El Presidente Hotel in Durango, and he says, "McGinley, are you going to come and be in Born on the 4th?" And I'm like, how in the fuck? I'm in How do you do that? And so I couldn't do it because
Right.
I had a big break in this big Paramount movie, and I couldn't do it.
Right.
And so he's like, "I fucking made you." Fuck you.
Yeah.
Click. So then he calls me for reshoots, and I had to eat shit, and I wheel Tom out at the end of Born on the 4th. So I was an extra trying to get back in Oliver's good graces.
Oh, yeah.
And so I don't have an impression of Tom.
Right.
I know you guys were pretty rock freaking solid. in
Well,
your
you
movie.
were on a soundstage for 3 months trying to figure that shit out.
Well, it worked.
Yeah. Well, you've got Rob Reiner, damn near the apex of anything he's capable of doing, also, and Nicholson, just forget it.
Yeah, but the trio of you guys was pretty great too.
Well, those.
I don't know the dynamics, but in
Those
front of the
three
lens,
parts-
it was great.
No, we got along amazingly well. But those 3 parts, as written by the new Shakespeare.
Yep. Or David
Just ask
Mamet
him.
Light, as some of us like to call him.
Just ask him. I love that
Or
quote.
just wreck that.
Yeah. Well, but so I'm glad you brought up the experience with Paul Newman, because you got a chance a little bit to have some conversations with him. This is one of my all-time heroes.
#1 draft pick.
Oh man.
And don't get me wrong, Al's right up there too. But
Sure.
Johnny and I called him El Big Dog because he was the big dog.
I don't imagine a larger 800-pound gorilla in any world.
The best.
But in every way, you know,
Yeah.
somewhere in your research you listed as one of your favorites at one point, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I saw it, I think, 11 times in the theater as a young man. It was a world I just wanted to get back into.
Yeah.
But those two, when you look back on the actors from that generation or any generation, end up giving back in iconic ways. Paul with Newman's Own, and then Redford with this Institute. I don't know. And these, by the way,
That's it.
were yeah. These were pretty boys who were not ever to be taken seriously at the outset, and they both, in terms of iconic trajectory of brilliance and giving back and never making it about yourself, it just doesn't exist today. So any little moments with Newman you can share would be.
I had to do an impression of him, and so I went out of my way to kind of dog him a bit so I could have access to him and just get some rhythms.
Yeah.
And unlike you, I'm not a great mimic. I'm not that good at it. And so, but
You're doing a pretty kick-ass Oliver Stone, but go ahead. After spending that much time with him.
Hello, 6 films you can frickin' do a person.
Yeah.
And so Paul, I'm hanging out with him, and there was a train scene where we're in the same car that got cut, unfortunately, and I had him all to myself in the car of a train, whatever you call it, those private little rooms. And so I had him all day, and I knew he was from Westport, and I said, Big Dog, what if I moved up to Westport, and maybe I come over and maybe just maybe need to borrow some sugar from Joanne. How would that be? And he goes, Mac, don't move to Westport. Like, Paul, that's weird. That seems like exclusionary. It doesn't seem like you. And I was just cracking him up. All I wanted to do was get a laugh out of this motherfucker. And I'm like, and so everything with him was just a whisper. It was just right in here.
Yeah.
It never, ever was audible.
Yeah.
And now Alec Baldwin's kind of taken that smoky and made it Smoky Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
And but Paul was a real guy.
He was the original.
Yeah, everything was just right in here.
Yeah.
And so I watched him.
Get him talking about racing.
I watched him calibrate. He used to drive Johnny and I up the mountain, the road of death, up to the set until Paramount outlawed it. And so they said you can't drive your own car anymore because he was just skidding the whole way up this road with a 3,000-foot descent.
And you guys are crying, laughing.
We're in heaven, as good as it gets.
Oh man!
And so I watched the first time when he had a monologue in the film. I saw him calibrate from across the room with the lenses, and Bill Mose-Zsigmond, who just passed, won an Academy Award for one of Spielberg's movies. He was shooting Paul from across the room, and so full, and then cowboy, and then here, and then here, and I watched him calibrate the lens. And so it was bigger across the room, and it just kept getting smaller and smaller until it was here, and it was you had to come in. He was just pulling you in.
Yeah. Great.
Note.
Brilliant.
Dear diary. Dear diary.
Never forget this education. Yeah, well, those are the deals, aren't they? When you get
Hopefully.
When you get the opportunity to earn while you learn. It's pretty miraculous. Is that when you and Cusack became tight? Was that the beginning
Yes.
of it?
Yes.
What an extraordinary talent there.
Johnny?
Yeah.
Oh, best.
He's just riveting.
An even better person than an actor, if that's humanly possible.
Is that right? See, I know nothing about him as a person, but I've always found his work fascinating. The recent thing on the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson was
Yeah, it's pretty
amazing.
miraculous.
Yeah, because I read that script and thought, I don't know what anyone's going to do with this. I think they brought me in to play the father, maybe, but the
Probably the Paul Giamatti part.
was he the father?
No,
It was
he
the
was
father.
no. Paul Giamatti was like
No, he was the. Giamatti was always in there as the
He was the shrink.
deranged.
Yeah. Well, I just always
controller.
I always feel like you guys always go for the same stuff. That's why I said that.
Yeah, at one point.
Love and Mercy. That's the name of the movie.
That's it,
It was.
yep.
It was.
It was a clinic. What John did.
Yeah, that, and plus the young actor who was in,
Paul Dano.
he was terrific too.
Oh,
That was a
man.
hard role.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a good job with that movie.
Yeah. You mentioned the soap. It's always great to get those moments, so I'm glad we had a little time to talk about that. Okay. This was the Wall Street question. You're filming Wall Street by day. You're also doing talk radio at Public at night.
Right. So Miss Papp was good to his word. They did hire me again, and so that wasn't a dismissive. I mean, I auditioned my ass off for that, but he was very much in control of everything there, and so I did get to play there again.
At the Public Theater.
Yeah.
And this is your introduction to Eric.
Eric Bogosian.
Yeah, and how you did the show for how long?
I did it for almost 2 years.
Right. But I don't think people understand just how long that actually is to do a play.
Nobody was banging down my door, and the play was a massive hit. Eric did it for about a year, and then Larry Pine came in, who's had a long career, and he was very good. But I got to do this monologue, Actor's Dream, where the most closest point to the audience in the center of the stage, the light cue is called Down in One. And so I got to be in 3/4 with Eric on the other side, just taking calls in the context of the play. I was his screener,
Right.
his radio producer. And so Eric's over there doing his thing, and I'm taking calls and doing all this stuff. And then about 20 minutes into the play, a pin spot hits me. I turn to the audience, and I start this 7-minute monologue, which I helped craft as the original actor in the play. And I get to come down in one, and it's about how I met Eric, and it's a magnificent it's an actor's dream in New York to be in a 325-seat house at the Public in a massive hit play that you couldn't get into.
No.
And go down in one and tell your truth. Well, for about a 3-week period there, I was doing Wall Street during the day, talk radio at night, and then Charlie after the play every night. And I would go out and burn New York down, man. And it's kind of the actor's dream, being a hit play and a movie with this guy I just had been in the jungle with. And so from John Turturro, I learned it's bad luck to let your understudy go on. And my understudy damn sure wasn't going to go on. And we were just right down by the Woolworth building, which is a straight shot up Lafayette to the Public, maybe 11 minutes. I doubt it's that long. And I had it in my contract that I was to be wrapped every night to be able to make half hour.
7.
Yeah, well, yeah, at least make half hour. And so half hour is when the actor's equity dictates that if you're doing a play, you have to be in the theater a half hour before curtain.
Right.
And so Oliver started keeping me later and later, and he didn't give two shits about talk radio. He would eventually shoot the film, but Wall Street was, he's like a thoroughbred horse. He's got blinders on, and his creative vision is quite laser. And so I'm later and later, and I'm getting there at 15 minutes, I'm getting there at 10 minutes, and these are all calls backstage to the actors, getting them ready to come on.
Yeah. And your understudy is just waiting.
Yep. And I get there at Places one night, and I see this guy in my wardrobe, and I'm like, get the fuck out of my wardrobe. And I went on. And so that happened like 2 nights in a row. And the second night, it was Places. Places.
Which is 5 minutes?
No.
Less.
No, 5 minutes is 5 minutes. Places is actors get in the wings or get in the chair where lights are coming up. The house lights dim and the lights come up.
Jesus.
And so I get there at Places, and I'm like, come on. And so I get to the seat. Oh God. I get to my chair, and I'm like, I'm counting it down for Eric, and I'm bang, and the show starts. And 7 minutes in, I stand up. I can't really stand up in this chair. I go down in one. I start the monologue for a minute or two in my chair. I go down in one.
Uh-oh.
I can't remember the next word.
Uh-oh. Oh, boy.
It's not there.
Nope.
All I could think was Oliver yelling at us, Charlie doing some mutt thing on the set that day, Hal Holbrook stumbling through his line. I'm like, none of that's talk radio.
I'm supposed to talk for 7 minutes.
I wonder what the next line is. I co-wrote this fucking thing.
Oh, fuck.
I don't know if I started to cry or what I did, but I walked back to my seat, and they called the next light cue, and Eric picked it up, and we kept going. And Eric is such a fucking mensch. He came up to me and he goes, "Look, if you're late tomorrow, just let the kid go on."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay." And Oliver did. He kept me till like 8:15 the next night, and oh God, I'll cry right now thinking about it. It just went against
Destroyed
everything.
you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. How into the run was that moment?
Deep.
Yeah.
Deep. Like
Yeah.
6 months.
Yeah.
I owned that 7 minute piece. I owned it.
Yeah.
But not that night, boy. It was just white. There was nothing there. I didn't know what the next word was.
What is that chill afterwards? In the moment, it's chill, panic, and 17 other things. But when the play's over, and you got to deal with yourself now and the solitude of what you did, do you give yourself any break? Does it take days?
No,
weeks?
Weeks.
Yeah.
Weeks. I mean, do you know Johnny Lithgow?
Yeah.
So I did a play on Broadway with him, Requiem for a Heavyweight. He got nominated for a Tony. And John can recite a Gilbert and Sullivan patter behind that curtain and then come on the next second. I have to, like Danny the Deep Blue Sea, I have to get ready, and I have to do a vocal warm-up, and I have to get everything, I have to narrow the field of vision. And I didn't that night.
No.
And it made it clear. It was very enlightening.
Yeah.
To think that in the theater you could be that presumptuous, that you could just get out of a car from the Teamster, take your wardrobe and walk on stage. Plenty of actors can do it. I can't.
Right. Yeah. No. I
And I don't want to.
Right.
Anymore.
Yeah. Did it become one of those never again
Yes.
moments for you?
Yes.
This cannot happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we just did Glengarry. We did a revival of Glengarry with Al Pacino and Bobby Cannavale and my friend Richard
Bobby
Schiff,
C.
and all these people, and it became clear that mistake was not going to repeat itself, and it didn't.
Right.
Because we got to do 100 performances, because that's what Al was there for.
Right.
And I wanted to crush every goddamn one.
Yeah. And I'm sure you did.
I did.
Yeah.
I fucking well did.
It's a great part.
Yeah.
It's a
He's
spectacular.
the straw that stirs the drink.
Yeah. You work with my comedy god and guru, Albert Brooks. I love
the best.
I love the story of the audition where he says, "But you're not Jewish."
That's exactly what he said. I said I wanted to play. Who's the terrific actor from?
Yeah, I played his brother.
Plays brother from
Northern Exposure.
Northern Exposure. What's that actor's
Oh,
name?
you're talking about the movie Mother?
Rob
Yeah.
Morrow. And so I came into audition way over at Paramount, and I go, I read the sides for your best friend. I really want to take a stab at your brother, and that's what he goes. He goes, but I can't do him. But he goes, but you're not Jewish. And I'm like, no, nor would I necessarily cast me as my Jewish friends from Millburn, New Jersey. So I'll read the sides you gave me. Can I dig myself out of this?
Yeah, just a great moment in time.
He's the top of the mountain for me.
Yeah.
Comedy wise.
Oh yeah.
Everybody doesn't get the sardonic, glib
No.
stuff he does.
No.
But every time I see him up in Malibu every once in a while at this fundraiser or that fundraiser. And
Yeah.
all I can do is give him love. Him and Donald Sutherland. I'll see Donald Sutherland around every once in a while. Donald's rough, but he's a god.
Yeah. The stories in his wake are get on board or get the fuck out of the way.
Donald?
Donald.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did Lost Angels with him and about this teen behavioral modification center, and down in San Antonio, Texas. And I just thought he was one of the greatest actors I've ever seen. But he's rough.
On the day, in the moment?
Yes.
Yeah. And then between social?
We had a bunch of dinners together.
Right.
It's nice.
Yeah.
I think with most big stars, Sean Connery notwithstanding, who's I've done 2 with, and a bit of a jackass.
In what way?
He's just a bully.
Yeah. To the crew, to the cast.
Everybody.
Yeah.
You know, we're doing The Rock, and you got 170 people gathered to make this movie, and he does 3 takes, and you're like, dude, really?
That's it? That's all you got?
That's it. There's 170 of us here. We all want to go. We all got families. You can't do. And I don't do a great impression. You could do it, but he's like, no. And he does the exact same meter every time. It doesn't matter now. He's retired, but it was just like, wow.
Yeah.
And then we're down in Buenos Aires doing Highlander #2.
Oh, he did not want to be there.
Nope. But he got $1 million a day, and so.
Let me ask you a question. At $1 million a day, do you hit the snooze alarm? Do you think?
Homie phoned that one in. He could have done that from Scotland or Spain, wherever he lives. He'd just phoned that in.
I've just hit her again.
God almighty, yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit.
like he's not on my Al and my
Well,
Paul
Cusack
Newman
gives you
list.
advice, according to the research, at one point. You don't know what to say to Al. You want to talk to Al. And he says, just go knock on his fucking trailer.
Right.
Right?
For any given Sunday,
Right.
I go, Johnny, and because they had just done City Hall together.
Right.
And they're best buds. And I go, what about Al? And so he goes, knock on his trailer. He really likes when people talk to him. And I'm like, God, this sounds like the biggest setup of all time. Like some big Italian guy is going to come out and say, what?
Yeah.
What do you?
Al's napping.
And so
Take a fucking walk.
I finally, a week or two into it, I go knock on his trailer door, and he goes, "Oh, yeah, come on in." I'm like, "No, me?
Come on in.
Me?
Yeah. You knocked. Get in here.
God save me."
Yeah.
So he starts telling me stories about Johnny Cazales and how they
They all say it was the best ever.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they rehearsed Arturo Ui, which is a play by Bertolt Brecht. They rehearsed it with Joe Papp for 2 years, and they never put it up. And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he said, "We couldn't find it. We couldn't find the play." I said, "What? I don't know what you're talking about."
Jesus.
Well, we just kept, Johnny wasn't happy. I wasn't happy.
It wasn't perfect.
It wasn't perfect, so we never put it up.
Those, wow.
Like I love me some Al.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I'm finding rhythms now that make me. I realized at one point he became an old black blues player.
Absolutely.
I don't know what year it was, but now I got to touch everything. It's got to move.
That's pretty
over
good.
Here, yeah, there it is. Okay. Now what?
That's pretty good.
He dials you right into. I want to do a two-man show of him and Walken where we just spend time in their thoughts.
That's pretty good.
Because when you go there, anything can come out.
You don't want to throw a Goldblum in there?
Oh, I'd love to throw a Goldblum.
One thing about
in there.
Al is you got to remember it's a little high. It's because most of the time it's quite a bit higher.
Yeah.
I mean, you got him when he's on stage.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's quite a bit.
Well, when he started, it was super high. When he was a kid,
it's quite a bit higher.
Yeah. Wow. So give me so he's talking about Johnny Casale, and
He told me about Arturo Ui, and then I asked him, why'd you ever want to be an actor to begin with? Because I always find it fascinating, as I think you do.
Yeah.
What the genesis of
Yeah.
things is with people, and he said, I just wanted to be a storyteller, and there was no addendum to that statement. There was no Al wanted to be a storyteller, and I have adopted that. I same here.
yeah.
And there's no addendum to it. It doesn't need to be qualified.
Right. So you branch out into writing. You've written. You've produced 5 films that I know of.
Yep, that's it.
But you will not direct because.
Because usually I'm the one raising the money, and once we hire the director, we've never hired a director who has Final Cut, and since it's taken us X years to raise the money.
Right.
And you come in and you're going to direct it, you do a great job, but it's going to be ultimately it will be our vision, hopefully collectively. But like the first film we did, we raised about $2 or $3 million. The second film we did called Watch It, we put all these great actors in it: Lily Taylor, Peter Gallagher, Tommy Sizemore, Susie Amos, John Tenney, all these great New York actors. And we went out to Chicago to shoot it. And the young writer-director was a guy named Tom Flynn, really nice guy, but he was deeply, deeply wed to his words.
Uh-oh.
The director was really just in love with his words. And so after a couple of days, all the dailies, that was it. That was it in the dailies. There was no energy in the frame, nothing was moving. People were just coming in a frame and saying the words, and we're like, dude, we got to start putting some energy, but let's have some walk and talks and so
Where's life?
Yeah, your words are great. We'll get them. But let's we rented a Luma for a week and a half. Let's start putting it on dial. Let's move this thing.
Yeah.
And so
The sound guy says he can hear fine.
it's fine. We got radio mics. It's great. Peter can jog. Lily can jog. It's fine. And so I enjoy producing them more than the concept of directing them.
Right. Well, there's a sense of, for you, of the big picture as a producer.
Yeah, I don't want the actors to ask me about their buttons, about what color their collar should be. I don't care. Go talk to the wardrobe person.
Yeah.
I've been working on this thing for 3 motherfucking years. Just hit your mark, say your goddamn lines, and be grateful. And I love actors. I love actors, but I don't want
That
to hear any
sounds like
bullshit.
Mamet. You spent all the time with Mamet.
Oh, God, not enough.
Yeah.
I hero worship that guy.
Oh, yeah. So what kind of time did you spend with him?
He was doing a play. Those theaters on 45th Street are called matched theaters because the walls that separate them, they are the exact same interiors. So the Schoenfeld where we are and then the one next door, they're the exact same. And in the matched theater next door, he was doing a two-hander, a one-act with Deborah Winger and Patti LuPone, and it was an interrogation play.
Oh my God.
And so he was writing and directing that while we were putting Glengarry into the Schoenfeld. And so we had very little exposure to David because he was busting his ass next door.
Right.
And when you did see him, you just like a puppy dog. You're like, see the play? Was I good? Was it good?
Yeah.
Just give me some love.
Yeah.
And but very little. He was he trusted Al and Daniel Sullivan, the Tony-winning director. Thing was pretty watertight.
Well, you worked with actors that have spent a lot of time with him. I know one of the movies you produced, you pulled in Bill Macy.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
He's ridiculous.
Billy's pretty great.
He's ridiculous.
Pretty great.
Yeah. And another no nonsense. Know the words. Hit the thing.
Yeah, the Spencer Tracy of it all.
Yeah.
Hit your mark, say your lines, and get out.
Yeah. I do much better when I don't have to act.
What does that mean?
Well, you came from listening, the training of listening.
100%. I wrote a book about it.
Right. So that's all I can do is listen and react. I can't. They say
I've seen you initiate.
I need you to cry in this moment. Yeah. Well.
But that's a result, I'm not quite sure what you mean.
If something happens,
I've seen you drive scenes.
If something happens in the scene,
I just watched it in the Ricky Gervais movie. Every time they came into the office, you were responsible for initiating and driving those scenes.
Right.
Sure shit, none of the other actors were.
No. It smells like a banana.
So I'm not sure what you mean that you can only react, and I'm not quite buying that.
I'm most comfortable, is what I'm saying.
Oh, fair enough.
I'm most comfortable when listening and being truthful in
that's what we have to
in my
do.
reply, yeah.
But we also have to, we being this fraternity/sorority of character actors, we also have to do, I found early on this niche where I could stay employed, and the niche was be able to do the who, what, where, when, how, so all the expository pipe connecting stuff without any eccentricities, clearly, without upstaging the leading man, because somewhere in the first act or in the third act, when the leading man's in jeopardy or when the bomb's going to go off on the B bus at 2:15, somebody has to tell the leading man that.
Yeah.
And then you get killed.
Sure.
But someone has to deliver the who, what, where, when, how.
Yeah.
Sizemore used to do it. Ving used to do it. You do it. There was a bunch of it. Quaid did it for a little while. There was a bunch. There was about 10 or 15 of us who they'd bring in because the leading man couldn't do it. Oliver would do it nonstop.
Yeah.
And that group, if you could get in that fraternity/sorority, you could do 2 or 3 films a year.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
Because the leading man either couldn't do it or wouldn't do it because he just wanted to kiss the girl and shoot the bad guy or whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
Not Tom and not some of these guys who happen to, I think, are really good actors. I think Cruise has become a really good actor, by the way.
Johnny too. Jesus.
Oh dear God.
Johnny Depp's work is
undefeated.
on the Black Mass. Oh my God. I don't know how that didn't get more attention. Well, the
I
movie
agree.
itself, I'm not sure works as well as
But Johnny was great.
he was. It was a revelation.
But most of the time, someone has to come in and do the who, what, where, when, how.
Right.
And I identified that. I'm not quite sure how or why, but maybe it just started. It kept happening, and I was comfortable with it.
Yeah.
It means you're 11 or 12 on the call sheet, but it doesn't matter. You come in for 15 days or so.
Yeah.
You move the plot forward, and then you get killed.
For me, I watched two of the greatest character actors of all time who were allowed because of their era to be movie stars, but Matthau and Lemon were character actors.
No question.
Start to finish. Could do anything. Be the glue. Kiss a girl when you need them. Especially Matthau with that born with a basset hound face. Could be charming as crazy. But these were brilliant character actors.
No question.
Yeah, I don't know what character actors like them are allowed to be movie stars these days, and that's probably a good thing. You ever work with Lemon? You know, legend. Everyone comment on this, but before every take, he would say, "It's magic time," and he would say it to himself. He said it for no one's benefit but his own.
You know what I used to say during Scrubs? And people thought I was lying, but I wasn't?
What?
Before almost every take, time to make TV history. And I wasn't kidding.
No, you had to feel it.
People, you know, Zach and Donald would make fun of me. I'm just like, I'm not fucking kidding.
Yeah,
Get in line, let's go.
that's the devotion to the moment.
Yes.
Yeah, that's coming in and working.
You get to make a plate appearance. Look,
Yeah, what's the point of having the uniform on?
what's the point?
Right.
So in baseball, the mean batting average to get into the Hall of Fame is 302 for offensive producing players. So that means you failed 698 times. Most of us out of 1,000.
Yes.
So most of us, that would chase us back to our hole and you wouldn't want to come out.
Right.
But what actors and baseball players share, some actors like you and a bunch of other really, really, really great actors share, is this sense of resilience.
Right.
That yes, that you know, you get decked 698 times. We don't want you. Like we were talking earlier, actors aren't selling coffee when they go into audition. They're selling this. They're selling their heart and their love and their soul and their capacity to engage.
Yeah.
And when we don't want that, it hurts.
Yeah.
And so when you strike out and you have 30 auditions in 2 weeks when you're a young actor and you're 0 for 30, you got to go to 31. And you can't carry any of this shit with you. When I used to be the reader for Oliver Stone for about 4 films, when you came into audition, I was the person who would read with you. And I love actors, and you wanted me to be the person reading with you.
Oh, yes, we do.
Because I wasn't going to be anything other than loving you and wanting you to get this gig.
Right.
And what I noticed, and then I would notice it as we were producing films, actors usually came in one of two ways. Either Pigpen, and Pigpen is that character in Peanuts and Charlie Brown, who is preceded and followed by a cloud of shit.
Yeah.
And actors would bring in their shit.
Yeah.
And the first thing they'd say, and their shit is this animated crap that surrounds them, the first thing they'd say to Oliver is they'd walk in and they'd say, well, my aunt died in Philadelphia last night, so I didn't get a chance to look at the sides. And
Good night. Next.
You fucked.
Next.
You just lost him. Homie's eyes are glazing over. And the other actors, every once in a blue moon, and if there was a way you could package this, you'd be undefeated. But there's not, because actors confuse it with arrogance all the time. And the other's Elvis Dust. And Sizemore and I decided on
Elvis Dust.
Yeah, and what Elvis Dust is when you walk in,
Right.
put your forearm out. You walk in, we just want to get some of you on us. Whatever you got, we want to we want to get some on us.
Yeah, what is that?
Well, it's a combination of self-esteem,
Right.
connection to the material, being present,
And the belief that you
being
are
resilient.
this guy. You believe you are this guy.
Either this guy or that you belong in this moment.
Right.
And when that person walks in, it happened to me I remember clearly, in 7, I go in to meet Fincher because Arnold Colpison produced it, and Arnold also produced Platoon. And so it was written, California, the role was written as a Latin guy. And Arnold says, well, David, you should just meet John. And I had Elvis Dust all over me. I don't know why. And California is a 3-line role.
Yeah, but when the producer says, I'm sending you in, you got to do this.
Yes.
That all the stuff starts to gather.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I go in to meet David, and when I walked out, it was just like, you're doing this movie. I had Elvis Dust all over me.
Right.
Now, if you go in empowered and a little chesty, then you're a jackass, because most actors sprinkle fear on their cereal in the morning, and you're gonna scare the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And so there's somewhere in between owning the moment and not scaring the man or woman, and having Elvis Dust all over you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to do with preparation, because I've been, I can do the thing in Latin by the time I'm going in, and you still get rung up.
No, it's show me what you're going to be like on the day when you have the job. When you're not here to earn the job, show me what you're going to be on the day when you have the job.
Some other intangible shit that I don't know what's part of the package.
Yeah,
but
because to me the reason I dialed in on that was why I think the audition process is designed to fail. Is the energy you're going to have in the moment on the day, doing the part, is the guy who was hired out of everyone available. You were chosen to do this because you're perfect for this. Now just do it. That confidence and energy and support from the person who hired you is the antithesis of what you feel going into an audition.
No question.
So how do you bring that in to the room?
Right, so what you just said is the greatest formula for empowerment and inclusion in the history of the world. And actors, when they are empowered and included, if they happen to have some skills, elevate.
Yeah.
So
now you can raise the
if
text.
you can figure out how to empower yourself,
right,
and include yourself into this process, this narrative, this story, and figure out where you fit in, then you get a shot. But then, if they're looking for, they don't want the 57-year-old Irish mule. They want they want a black guy. You're out.
Yeah.
And that has to be okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you definitely should do something else.
In the case of Scrubs, when the breakdown goes out, a Johnny C. McGinley type, that's in the breakdown.
It's in the script. there's a parenthetical aside when Dr. Cox enters.
Yeah.
A Johnny C type, and so I read that.
And the studio or network genius is thinking about someone pretty.
Well, I went in to meet Bill Lawrence. I met him, and I go, and he wrote the script. He's the biggest mensch of all time, best guy ever. And I go, well, I'm Johnny C.
I'm actually the guy.
He goes, yeah, no, I know, I wrote it for you. I'm like, great, well then this should be an offer. He's like, well, no, there's a lot of chefs in the kitchen and TV, so I had to go through Disney twice, and that went okay. And then, as you know, you have to go through network. And so going to network is you wait in a waiting room with a couple of different variations on a theme of
in this case, you.
Yes. Variations on a Johnny C type, and I'm looking around.
Had you seen your name in parentheses before in the script?
Never.
First of all, at writing 101, they tell you don't.
Right.
Because if you don't get the guy, you just offended the person you hired.
Right. And I remember like yesterday going to network in a room, a very tiny room over at NBC when Jeff Zucker was in charge, and it was filled with 30 people sitting on the air conditioner, sitting on the floor. And it was almost like when you do those talent shows at Thanksgiving for your uncles and aunts.
Yes,
and
at the fireplace.
Yeah, the fireplace, absolutely. And guys, if there were 5 or 6 of us there, 5 or 6 went in before me, and they all came out deer in headlights, scared to death. And that makes me go the other way.
Yeah.
Whenever a panic situation happens, if you're panicking, it calms me, because I know what I'm not going to do.
Yeah.
And so however the batting order worked that day.
You were at cleanup.
Yes. And I knew what I was not going to do. I knew I was going to crush this thing. And I had a Jersey muscle car at the time. I had a Mustang, a blacked out Mustang 5.0. And after I did the audition, and you have to sign your life away, and you see the cash.
This is what you're going to be making for the next 5 years.
This is what you could be making.
That's right. Not yours.
If you hit a stand-up double, it's not yours. But if you get the second, if you hit a double, you could get this.
Yeah.
You've never gotten anything like this in your motherfucking life.
Don't even think about those numbers. They're not real.
But you have to sign 5 copies of it.
Yep.
In the waiting room.
Before you go in.
Before you go in.
Why would that get in your head?
Why would that get in your head?
Why would that make you needy?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And
why would that fuck with the Elvis dust?
I finished that audition. I walked out. We were over in Burbank there. I got in that 5.0. I popped the convertible, and I drove back out to Malibu with Bruce just blaring. I'm like, I crushed that motherfucker. I crushed it.
Yeah.
And if I didn't get that,
doesn't matter.
I crushed it.
You left everything in the room.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was okay with that. I could reconcile that.
How soon after? Is the phone call on the way home?
When I walked in the door.
Yeah.
because good people like to deliver good news.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
And when it's bad news for actors, that phone doesn't ring, man.
It's weird how slow news is.
It doesn't ring.
Is bad news every time.
And actors always want to know what happened. Not anymore.
Yeah.
But you want to be like, so what happened? And if the phone doesn't ring, you know what happened? Nothing. They went another way.
Yeah. It didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how many parents there are to success.
Man, that phone rings when they want you, baby.
Yeah. Here's what I did for you.
Yeah. That's why I always tell actors when I'm either teaching a class or helping somebody, an actor, I always tell them if I think you and I were talking about it earlier, unless you have to do this, unless you have to do it,
Can't live without it.
you got to do something else.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to make you, it's going to hurt too much.
Right.
Because like I was saying earlier, you're not. This is a reading. You're not selling reading glasses covers.
So yeah.
So we're not rejecting this.
Yeah. My first thought when the first person with a semi-automatic went into the post office and took out some locals was, how has this not been an actor in the past?
Well, because
Who
a
went
lot of
on
actors,
tilt?
because a lot of my friends who are not working, a lot of them are really bright,
Yeah.
very sensitive,
Right.
and connected to the daily lives. It's just not happening.
Right.
And
The idiots get to be a flash in the pan star.
Also, I think they're
Not the
too
smart people.
narcissistic, and they're like, I'm not going to do this if they're not rolling on it.
yeah, there's that.
It's just going to be a story people write about. I want them to see me.
But I can tell you for a fact that if it hadn't worked out early on, I probably would have done something else. I wouldn't be broke for 40 years. I wouldn't.
Right. You dedicate yourself to the New York theater scene. You come out to Los Angeles for a very specific job. And then the decision.
But I came out here to do Point Break.
With
and
a gig.
So my introduction here was employed.
Right.
And so I don't know how our friends do it who, A, I don't know how they pay the bills, and B, I don't know how you continue to do that as you're really smart, you're very gifted, you're a loving person.
But I think you answered it early on when you said, if you can't live without it, don't try. So if you can't live without it, if it has to be a part of your life, which is why you keep doing it, then you keep doing it. Because you got it. You don't have a choice.
But that's hard, man.
Yes, what's the book you wrote? I had the book in the research, and you mentioned just in passing during the middle of something.
The Untalkative Bunny, How to Be Heard Without Saying a Word. And it's about, you co-wrote it with me, it's about what actors, supporting actors do when we're listening. And it distills down to this. It's a verb. What we do to make the message that the leading man is verbally communicating to us,
Right.
is we attach verbs to it. We're astonished. We wonder. We question. And so when the book just purports that if you can attach a verb to your listening, you will listen 10% better. Just 10%. So if the Monday morning meeting, which you've gone to every Monday morning up on the 6th floor at IBM, which is droned on by the same middle management guy, if you can bring a verb to that meeting, which is what you do when you're listening to the leading man and you have to, so to participate, if that's the verb, you'll listen 10% better. If you bring a verb, you will, and that's what we have to do with every jackass we have to listen to. And we have to make it look like what you're saying is the most incredible fucking thing I've ever heard.
Well, see,
my God, how did you come up with that?
That is what you bring to your work every time I see it.
Verbs.
Yeah. That energy behind it. That enthusiasm, that need to participate is the first thing that grabbed my attention. When you do this with Charlie Sheen as he's walking past you, that little gesture, whatever that greeting was, while killing babies on the phone,
Right.
yeah, was that guy, instantly.
Right.
Oh Jesus, that guy.
But don't you find it's easier if you selfishly can come up with a roadmap in the script for where we fit in and what we are in fact doing in this story.
Yeah.
And I know you're the best friend and you're supposed to tell him that he has to cheer up and get a new girlfriend after the divorce. I get that. But what are you doing? And so then the verbs become that becomes the Friday New York Times crossword. What are the verbs? How are you going to compel the guy to get a new girlfriend after the divorce because she decided she was gay and it's not his fault and we have to empower him. What are the verbs?
So when I go into JT Walsh's trailer on A Few Good Men and I say,
God,
I'm a poser, I'm going to be found out, I have no formal training, I'm a comedian who has auditioned 6,000 times, and here I am. And he says, well, you're already doing a technique that people study their lifetime for, which is less is more. You're already doing that. But to get to the finish line, you have to incorporate the second half, which is nothing is best.
what does that mean?
Do nothing in the scene and steal my attention, and you win. So
I sort of agree with that, but I think you have to do nothing with a verb.
Yeah, so this is what I want to ask you. So the verb is in here, right? So when I had that moment with Tom and I have to talk to him about his father in A Few Good Men. And I have to say to him, I'd rather have you defending these kids any day of the week and twice on Sunday. And I have to make him give a shit because he's just given up on everything and gotten drunk. And Aaron Sorkin wrote this incredible moment. And I just had this conversation with JT Walsh. And I give what then becomes the cornerstone for what I'm going to do from here on out, which is don't move, don't give me a facial expression, let it all be in your eyes, your sincerity when you try to reach inside his soul to kickstart the rest of the film for everyone. I just have to be believable in what I'm saying, that I mean it, that I'm not reciting lines written by...
I know, but if the verb was to kickstart, that's the greatest verb in the history of the world.
Well, but that's the moment, yes.
And it doesn't matter if and this is going to be a contradiction, but to kickstart it by doing nothing and functioning in the silence and the stillness, but still kickstart something?
Yeah.
Fucking shoot that.
Yeah.
Give me that.
Yeah. Yes. A conversation without effort. A conviction without animation. I think that's what JT was getting at, which is you don't need to raise your voice.
Confuse that with laziness, and
oh God, no.
And so that's the only thing that sometimes I worry when actors try to do nothing.
Right.
You still have to serve a verb. Unless you're going to serve a verb that moves the text forward, I need you to do something. Because not everybody's Brando. Brando could sit there and do nothing, and it was still, that's Brando.
Yeah, but to that point, I think when JT Walsh's, when he says nothing, and what Kevin got from that, nothing isn't like a lazy actor like, oh, just sit there blank and let the other guy talk and wait your turn. That's nothing
Exactly.
with intent.
That's the trap that
Right.
Sometimes I see actors doing that, and I'm like, I want to take a poker and just poke them a little bit.
Yeah,
Come on,
that's actually,
get in the scene.
Actually boring.
The bomb's about to go off.
Yeah.
Right. I have to sell him the sincerity through a lack of effort and animation. I don't have to do this to get his attention. I have to look him in the
100%,
eyes and tell him, you're the reason we're all here, and kickstart the rest of the movie.
That's great. Greatest verb I've ever heard.
By kickstarting is it, right? I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and how you serve to kickstart is where the fun is.
Yeah.
If that's the verb.
The animated version is to literally punch him in the jaw.
Right, and so of course that's not happening. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And so that's the stuff that's why I want to go to the set.
So in that case, when you're given the words written perfectly, where you do just have to deliver them with sincerity and a genuine connection, right? That's where I found, this I can do really, really well. I don't even know why, but that I'll just base the rest of it on that, which is I'm comfortable enough in front of a camera to be real, and that's going to be my thing. I'm going to be believable. cut to, Kevin Smith wants me to be in his movie Red State for 90 seconds. And I read the script, he calls me, I want you to do this. I read the script and say, why do you want me to be in your movie for 90 seconds? He says, because it's a FBI surrounded the compound. John Goodman's running the show. He's trying to get any communication at all from we keep going inside the compound to see the craziness. Michael Park's brilliant beyond belief. And we come back out to the perimeter. And when your guy walks in and says, all right, tell me what's going on, with the FBI emblem on his back, and the audience sees that actor, in this case you, they go, okay, everything's going to be fine. That actor's here. So that when John Goodman is giving you the breakdown of what's been going on, and you guys are having a very confident comedic exchange, and a single shot rings out, takes your eye and life out, now the audience says, okay, no one's safe. He just killed Kevin Pollak.
It's great.
And I hadn't had my career brought into a capsule in a heartbeat.
It's great.
What the fuck just happened? And I signed up instantly.
Of course.
Yeah, crazy. Dialed in to that. I'm going to prey on the audience's relationship with you and your body of work in 90 seconds from my movie.
Right. Now the opposite is, and I call them bill payers, when it's not on the page and we do have to go in and pull a rabbit out of our ass, and there's that too. And so
sometimes you got to make the donuts.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I worked at a restaurant all through grad and right before I started Danny, called Mary Lou's on 9th Street between 5th and 6th, and I made a fortune. It's before taxes, Reagan started taxing tips.
Cash, walking out with cash.
And so I don't want to go back and wait tables anymore. They did it.
Right.
And so every once in a while you get to do bill payers, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started. On the one career where we'll get judged for that.
Oh, I've reconciled all that shit. I don't want to hear about it. I've been lucky enough to get a couple commercials lately. It's the greatest thing ever. They're 30-second short stories if you make them right.
Yeah.
And it allows you to do as many independent films as you want. And
oh, by the way, the person who wants you in that commercial is doing the exact same thing Kevin Smith did.
100%.
I know everyone's relationship with Johnny
100%.
C. Give me the fuck Johnny C.
Right.
This is that moment.
And then you got to pay.
And then you got to pay.
Then you can go do all the, I did 3 independent films last year. They were all really good, but I don't know if they'll ever get released.
Never worked so hard for so little.
I'm in Bogota for 3 months. I'm in Bloomington, Indiana for a couple of months.
Sister cities, by the way. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah. Both good towns. I'm in Nashville last year, but I don't know if those films ever see the light of day. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Great scripts, great cast. So what?
Now what? Good luck. Yeah.
Do you even have finishing funds?
Right.
You may not.
Yeah. And by the way, even if you did, we didn't get to your experience as we are technically out of time, of taking years to produce a film, as you said, get the material, get the director, get the actors, everything lines up. The guy shoots the fucking thing. It's so good when you are done with it at Final Cut and it gets transferred then to the Sundance Film Festival. They say, please have your world premiere here. Reviews are blowjobs from beginning to end. Then what? Then how does it just sit there? What's that experience? 4 or 5 years for you from beginning to end?
Sure, a couple times, yeah.
And you wonder, you know what? Let's do it again.
Right, that's the resilience. That's failing 698 times.
Right. To get in the Hall of Fame.
Do you have another, to get in the Hall of Fame?
By the way.
Those are Hall of Fame numbers.
Yes. That's not a successful player. That's Hall of Fame.
That's Cooperstown.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's resilience.
That's Johnny C. McGinley, ladies and Jews. There it is. I can't thank you enough, honestly and truly. And I wish you such a great journey.
Thank you.
With our friend Dana Gould. He had one question. I asked him, we have a part in the show called Famous Questions. And I asked Dana for the famous question.
Oh, geez.
He sent it in right before we went live. And he writes, here it is, H17M's period, followed by, he's a real actor, so I think any obscure New York theater question would be appropriate. He's from that world. He probably knows a buttload also about Vin Scully from his research on 42. We didn't get the 42. It's Red Barber. It's the beginning of live analysis. And what I love about that story in the research, again, thank you, Jason McIntyre, is the director is a neighbor of yours, and after all the
well done.
goings on, you walk across the street because you had a neighborly relationship to some level.
Plus, they wouldn't see me for the part.
Exactly.
And so I jumped, well, you're not supposed to do this, but I jumped the chain of command.
Yeah, you did.
I'm sure this casting person will never give me the time of day, but I went over to a guy named Brian Haugelin, who won an Academy Award for writing LA Confidential, and has directed a boatload of movies. And I said, Bri,
You knocked at his door,
I did.
middle of the day.
Yeah, I said I should be in 42, man. I should be Red Barber. And he goes, what can you do that cadence? And I said, well, as soon as if you give me 4 weeks, I could pretty much do root canal. And so I started to listen to a bunch of broadcasts, and you know, that cadence from the 20s and the 30s and the 40s is so alien. And I started to get it down. And so he said, give me a call a couple weeks, I'll come over and you can do it. And he did. And
at some point you call him and invite him over to your house.
Yeah. And I did Red for him, and which in the script is all voiceover. And so the ultimate compliment to the actor is we're not going to shoot the voiceover, we're going to shoot you. We're doing the voiceover. And I was like, call action.
Yeah.
And so I got to do Red Barber. And Vin Scully was Red's intern for the last couple of years when he was doing the Dodgers. And when I finally got to meet Vin, you know, during all the press stuff, I asked him about Red Barber, and he said he had to do all the grunt work for Red. He had to go down and get the lineup cards, and that Barber was very detail oriented, and he wanted all this shit on index cards. He wanted it all on index cards. So that, you gotta remember, these guys, this was the only way you could get Dodger media delivered to you, was from Red Barber. There was only one outlet, and it was him. You couldn't get it on your computer, you couldn't get it on any other TV station or on the internet. You could get Red Barber for Gillette doing the Dodger games. And so he was godlike
Beforehand,
to a lot
also
of
to
people.
let people know, and I didn't realize this till I did the research that you found out. The way people were getting breakdowns of a game was as a news report after the fact.
Correct. And also, Red Barber and Mel Allen, right before them, Mel before Red, because Red was in Cincinnati before he came to Brooklyn, they would congregate in the bowels of the Chrysler Building and then the Empire State Building, and they would read ticker tape reports from the field, and they would create the game reading. They would create a work of fiction.
On a 30-second delay of what was happening.
From the bowels of these buildings. They weren't
nowhere near the park.
No, they weren't up at 161st Street. They weren't at Ebbets Field. They weren't out in Queens. They were in the Chrysler Building.
Yeah.
Pulling this stuff out of thin air.
And making it up. Making up the visual.
That's just astonishing.
It is. Theater of the mind.
So when they actually got to go out to the yard and broadcast it, it must have been heaven.
Yeah, watching and talking.
And telling you what I'm seeing instead of what I'm just kind of making up. That's just astonishing.
What a joy that must have been.
That was good, clean fun.
Yeah, yeah. As has been, and I thank you. When do you leave for Atlanta, hot Atlanta?
I go to Ireland with my brothers about a week from now, and then I'm going to go directly from Dublin down to Atlanta.
This is a regular pilgrimage?
Every year.
With the brothers?
Yes.
Holy crap. How long's that been going on?
Since 1999.
Wow! I wish I gave a shit about my brother that much.
It's pretty good.
That is wildly enviable.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yes, Sammy.
I just have real quick. This
Last
has been
comment.
An incredible last near 2 hours, and I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for astonishing us, shitface.
Oh, that's nice.
Does it feel like almost 2 hours? That's what happened. That's what happened.
No way.
We're having a conversation. It's 2:25.
Oh boy, am I
fuck
going
outta here.
to? Boy, am I going to get in trouble?
Yeah, no, you're not. All right, sit there uncomfortably while I wrap things up for the folks at home. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Honestly. Long-time fan, first-time caller. Apparently we did a movie together.
Yeah, Kiefer's movie.
Yeah, did we meet during that?
No.
I didn't think so. Thank
get-
God I'm not that old that I
get-
actually
I
forgot.
get the back of my head blown off by Vin Gallo in the first scene of the movie.
Yeah, you did.
You guys didn't play a round of golf together?
And I pinch hit for somebody. Harvey Keitel backed out at the last second.
That's right.
And Kiefer called me up, which was nice, to be the guy that you can. I like to be the guy you can rely on.
Yeah, right?
And we had already done Article 99 together in Kansas City, and I thought Kiefer was really terrific.
Yeah, me too.
Because I get him, and I think he's intensely loyal, really gifted, very good storyteller. And so when he said, "Do you want to come and will you come and do a day for me?" I said, "Done."
Yeah.
Done.
Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. Name of that film. All right. We got to go. We got to wrap it up. We'll be back in June, according to the calendar. On the Twitter, is it just at John C. McGinley?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think yes.
Follow the goings on. The name of the new show to come to IFC is
Stand Against Evil.
Stand Against Evil. One of the all-time great scripts I've read in 20 years, and I
too.
wish you and our dear friend Dana Gould the world
Thank
of
you.
success with that. It should go on it for exactly as long as you want it to. That's it for today. Brian, our new intern, who we read his email on the show only a couple of weeks ago, day one, hits it so far out of the park, I'm not sure we're going to find the ball.
Crushed Unctuous.
I don't know. There was
Crushed
a little
unctuous. We had a little mishap.
little too much half and half in my coffee. But
By the way, corrected by the time Johnny C got his.
They splash.
He understood the word splash.
Yeah.
Here's myself.
Yeah, allowed.
Never happen again.
Okay, Brian, thank you very much. And watch the tone, I think. This is how we'll end things. Kenny Chen, thank you as always. Samantha Ward on makeup. Brad Register up in the crow's nest helping out in the absence of the Michael Dooman. Jason McIntyre, Sam, and Jamie both. Thank yous. Who am I leaving out? Nobody, I think, this time. The fine folks at the West Side Comedy Theater. Until next time, and as always, get out of my face.